Welcome to In Your Neighborhood. I'm your host, Charlotte Brown, and on today's show, we have an extra special guest today. My guest today is Jay Barnard. Jay is also known as Chef Recovery. He's in town tonight. He's the keynote speaker for the Journey to Life dinner in support of the Salvation Army. So welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you for having me, Charlotte.
Yeah, so this is going to actually air after the dinner. So hopefully people got their tickets and they're coming out. But if not, you've agreed to share your story with us today. So you're from Kenora.
I am from Kenora, born and raised.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my life started, was in Kenora. So my addiction started there. My whole life started there. My rock bottom hit there. It's just, I love Kenora, and I actually came back to Kenora after getting clean and sober. So I'm coming up, actually today is 3,355 days of being clean and sober.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, that's a big accomplishment. But the problem is like I was speaking today at the Salvation Army to the guys, and it's from the stuff when I was a kid that really dictated what was going on in my life. I come from a broken family. My mom's been married 3 times. My dad's been married 5 times. My earliest memory of my father is him being drunk, hitting me with a shovel for no reason. And that's alcoholism, right? And I was surrounded by alcoholism from my father and my grandmother, and my family was broken. So we were always moving. There was always commotion. There was always fighting. There was always yelling. It was never a stable foundation growing up. So I was scared to share. I was scared to talk. I bottled a lot of things up. So early on in my life, I learned to suppress things. And that's what we do as an addict and an alcoholic, is we suppress, right? And I guess I didn't want to put the burden onto my family as to what my feelings were, my family wasn't, it was a broken family. So I didn't want to add more stress to the family. I didn't want to add that I may be the problem, because I was born Jay Corey and my name got switched to Jay Barnard, and that Jay Corey kid sat down for a long time, and I never ever took. It took me a long time to work on these issues.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think there's a lot of viewers out there who's watching that maybe they've battled with addiction themselves. A lot of families that's touched by addiction, or you have friends or a coworker, and just kind of understanding how somebody can go, be born into this world and make that choice of that, and the things that kind of maybe happen, whether it's a tragedy or a series of events. And let's kind of take a look at what that looked like for you kind of growing up, and where your first introduction was to drugs and alcohol.
Well, it's like when you're in kindergarten, right? Like I didn't put my hand up and say, I want to be a drug addict, an alcoholic, and a drug dealer. And I think I put my hand up and said a firefighter, and I turned out being a chef. But, all those things that happened to me as a kid, I like I said, I didn't know how to, I didn't know how to channel my anger. I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know how to ask for help. I was too scared to ask for help. I thought I was a burden. I didn't really have, my grandfather was a great role model. My father disowned me at the age of 8 years old because of his addiction. So my grandfather moved in to be my father figure. And my uncle who passed away a couple years ago, was like my role model. But so I really never had any direction. So I was really left to the vices of my own self, and my mother did the best that she could do. And I think my mother just let me do whatever I wanted to do, because she felt guilty of everything that went on, from a failed marriage, and I failed my kids, and I failed myself, and I failed my family. So I'm just going to let my kids do what they want. And by doing that, I ran havoc, right? And my first addiction was food. So at a young age, I'm a big kid. So at a young age, I found out if I ate a lot of food, it killed the pain. And I just kept eating food. So when I'd go to like an A&W or a McDonald's, why am I eating 6 burgers and my family's eating 2? But I couldn't understand that I couldn't stop. Mm-hmm. And I plummeted to like 210 pounds at 9, 10 years old. And I got called names, and I failed grade 3, and all that dictated as to what would happen into the future, because I had no channel on how to talk about it. I didn't, so at the age of 12, I picked up my first drink. And it was like an instant relief of, wow, I feel better. Like, but I couldn't stop. And I didn't understand, like, you know, you take a drink and most people can have one or two, and there's no such thing as one or two for me. So it was me running away from Jay Corey, but I was being Jay Barnard, and I had these masks on, and I started selling drugs, and that's how I became popular. And you know, because I was a guy with the drugs, I was a guy with the money, I was a guy with whatever you wanted, I had it, and I could put this mask on and be whoever I wanted to be, and I could hide away from all my issues and all my problems as a kid through my drug business and my drug channeling and my drinking, right? So,
And the name change happened because when your dad left, is that you had your dad's name, and then when your dad left, your mom changed your name?
My mom got remarried, and I remember sitting at the wedding and just crying, and you know, they're like, "Are you happy? Are you happy?" And I'm like, "Why would I be happy? Like, my dad's not in my life. I see my dad with other, you know, my dad's being a dad in another family, and now you want me to call this guy dad." And you know, but I lied. I said, "Yeah, I am happy," because I didn't want to say no, because I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to ruin my mom's day, and I didn't want to be the guy that was a burden to the family. And you know, as life went on, the cycle just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And then I got into the cocaine and the crack, and then I slowly got into the heroin. And it was one of those things where I lived to use and used to live, and that is simply an addict. And every day I had to use, because when feelings start to come, you don't know how to deal with them. And if you haven't felt those feelings, you don't even know what they are. So now you're scared. So you just keep drinking and drinking and drinking. And I was 19 years old when I first got busted. They kicked my door down and got me with 2 pounds of weed and a quarter of cocaine. I ended up doing some time. But I loved jail. Jail was a place where it was peaceful. I didn't have to worry about the outside life. I didn't have to worry about the committee in my head playing against each other. I had a bed, I had clothes, I had food. I sold drugs in jail. My canteen was always full. You know, so it was like, I don't want to say it was like a holiday, but it was a place for me I felt at peace in there. And I didn't have to worry about the outside world. I didn't have to worry about my family. I didn't have to worry about disappointing anybody anymore. I didn't have to worry about disappointing myself. And
At this point, did you feel like you had a problem? Like something that you needed to do something, or you were comfortable with?
I don't know if I realized I had a problem. I know a lot of people were telling me I had a problem, but I couldn't accept the fact that I had a problem because I didn't know what the problem was. I knew I drank a lot, and I knew I did drugs, and I knew that wasn't good, and I knew selling drugs wasn't good, and I knew ruining other people's lives wasn't good, but I couldn't admit that I had a problem, though. Not at that time.
Right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, Jay, but we're going to be right back and talk with Jay more about his journey. Be right back.